With buildcrafting becoming more and more prevalent, Bungie has added weapon perks that are exclusive to certain elements. As of today, all 5 of the different elements in Destiny 2 have their very own weapon perk. In today's video, I wanted to rank all 8 of those weapon perks. Today's list will be based on 3 factors. Number 1 being how well does this perk work in in-game content, number 2 being how well does this work when it's paired with the build of the matching element, and number 3, how effective is that perk at the job that it is designed for. Keep in mind that you and I will most certainly have differing opinions on this matter, so feel free to just share your opinions on my ranking in a civil manner in the comments below. With that being said, I'm SniperKH, and let's dive into the video. Coming in at the number 8 spot, we have the new perk for kinetic weapons, Kinetic Trimmers. Kinetic Trimmers is one of the 8 new perks that were released with Lightfall last month, and rolls exclusively on kinetic weapons. This perk makes it so that way after landing rapid precision hits, you spawn a trimmer, which acts as a mini earthquake at your target's feet, which staggers them and does damage to them. And while this does sound appealing, I can confirm to you that it is not at all. Now I will say that this perk is decent, and that the little trimmers do stun the enemies and in low tier content does a solid amount of damage to them. However, the problem I have with this perk is that the condition you must meet in order to proc this perk is a bit steep. It requires that you hit precision shots, which testing it on the Battlescar Pulse Rifle, you need to land 5 bursts worth of precision shots to proc this perk. Now these bursts do not need to be consecutive, which is good. However, requiring players to hit the equivalent of half of your magazine to spawn a small AoE perk that will barely kill a target isn't worth it whatsoever. This is also not to mention the fact that by the time you do proc this perk, your target will basically be dead since you have to put in so many shots to proc the perk. To add on top of this, this has no use in in-game content either since it doesn't stun champs, and in areas where it would be useful, I'd rather just use disorienting grenades because at least that covers a wider range of targets and lasts a little longer than kinetic trimmers. My advice for you when you get this perk is this: unless you enjoy getting very little value out of perks, then I'd suggest using your 4th column perk slot on something else. Coming in at the number 7 spot is yet another new perk in Lightfall, Threadlings. Threadlings is the new perk that is designed specifically for Strand and is honestly not too bad of a perk. The perk makes it so that way whenever you get a precision kill or rapid non-precision kills, you will spawn a Threadling. I will say that the main reason why this perk is so low on this list is that its potential has not been fully discovered, especially when paired with Strand builds. However, on its own, it doesn't really bring a lot to the table. It spawns a Threadling, which by itself isn't insane. It does okay damage and does disorient the enemy, but the duration of the disorientation isn't anything to write home about. The perk isn't anything amazing, but it's not terrible either. And I think once the right build is found, this perk will maybe rise on this list, but for now, it will stay at the number 7 spot. At number 6, we have Repulsor Brace. I'm going to be completely honest, I expect to get some shit with this entry, but while Repulsor Brace is a good perk, I feel that it doesn't bring enough to the table for me to consider it a top option in most scenarios. I will say that pairing it with a build like the Gerfalcon's Hunter build does bring the perk to its fullest potential, but in most low-end content, I'd prefer using a perk that will help me get my abilities faster or increase my damage output, in which Repulsor Brace doesn't do either of those. I'd love to hear from those that use this perk over other options and void builds, because I am open to learning the true values of this perk, but as of now, it just seems like an average at best perk. Coming in at a number 5 spot, we have Headstone. Headstone feels like one of the best definitions of something in Destiny that got power crept. What I mean by that is that while I don't think Headstone is a bad perk, better options have simply been put into the game, and due to that, Headstone has fallen out of the spotlight. Like, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I don't think that Headstone has received any nerfs since its debut in Season of the Lost, and yet with the introduction of other perks, this one has simply lost its shine. Anyways, Headstone still cracks the top 5 since it does have some in-game viability and it's still a decent perk to use. It does good for ad clears since destroying the stasis crystal can do a lot of damage to nearby targets, and this perk does have the capability to slow and freeze targets, although they do need to be within hugging range of the target you kill, so I don't know how much value you will manage to squeeze out of it. Otherwise, it's a pretty average perk. There's nothing spectacular about it and there's nothing awful about it. It's simply an okay perk. Coming in at the number 4 spot, we have the last of the 3 new elemental exclusive perks within Lightfall, Destabilizing Rounds. Destabilizing Rounds was Bungie's answer to the community's initial lack of interest in the first Void exclusive perk we got, and I gotta say, Bungie really stepped it up for this perk. Destabilizing Rounds makes it that way when you kill a target, all nearby targets will become volatile. This perk is actually really good and a lot of fun to use, and in my personal opinion, it is easily better than Repulsor Brace. Now the reason why this perk didn't make it higher on the spots is simply due to the fact that it has no in-game viability, as it will make enemies volatile but it won't grant your weapon volatile rounds, so you'll be losing out on the anti-barrier benefits due to that. It also does have a delay after using it, which I've heard is about a 3-second delay, which isn't too bad but does lower its ranking a bit. Otherwise, this is a great perk, which is why it's at the number 4 spot. Coming in at the number 3 spot, we have Volt Shot. Volt Shot is the ARC exclusive perk that was introduced alongside the ARC 3.0 rework in Season of the Plunger, and it takes the number 3 spot because it is a really good perk. It makes it so when you get a kill with the weapon with Volt Shot on it, it will overcharge the weapon, letting it jolt the first target you hit with the weapon. This perk is great and has a lot of endgame viability and also viability in lower tier content thanks to its great ad clear capabilities. Being able to reload this weapon and clear out a whole horde of ads simply by killing one single ad is amazing, and its jolting capabilities make this a great perk for GM content. Now, the reason it is number 3 and not higher is mostly due to my own opinion on this perk, which is that I think it is a worse version of Incandescent, and also since you are forced to get a kill with this weapon first before you can jolt a target, which makes it much more difficult for this perk to compete with overload champion options that we already have, not to mention that subclasses can now stun overload. That requirement does cause it to fall a few spots, but let's not get anything twisted. If you have Volt Shot on a weapon, I'd still highly recommend using it in in-game content, because it will still do work, enough work to land it at the number 3 spot. Coming in at the number 2 spot, we have Incandescent. Incandescent, as I mentioned earlier, is the best ad clear perk out of all of the other ad clear elemental exclusive perks that we have in the game right now. The reason why this perk is so good is due to the fact that it can wipe out a massive group of ads easily. It procs pretty easily, and it can synergize with solar subclasses beautifully to make this perk's effects even stronger. There's almost nothing that this perk can't do. However, the keyword in that sentence is almost, because even though I do love this perk a lot, it is still not the best elemental exclusive perk in the game, and for one reason. It does not have a whole lot of in-game viability. Incandescent can stun unstoppable champions, assuming you can get it close enough to a target to stun it, but the problem with it is to pull that off, you are asking for a lot, and in a GM environment, you'd be better off using a weapon or a perk that can directly stun a champ. I really wanted to put this perk at number 1, but another perk simply has it beaten out. And that other perk is none other than Choke Clip, which lands at the number 1 spot. Man, it's crazy how the rework towards champions and the things we can use to deal with them made this perk go from being a decent at best perk to literally being the best elemental exclusive perk in the game. Choke Clip makes it so that the top half of your magazine will slow targets. While this perk doesn't seem like a lot, it has an insane amount of viability for in-game content, with it literally being able to deal with 2 different champion types at once. Not to mention that this perk also has great synergy with the stasis builds, in case you decide to build even further into this perk. While this perk isn't the best perk for ad clear, it makes up for that in the endgame viability department, and I don't even think it's close at all. To me, Choke Clip is easily the best elemental exclusive perk in Destiny 2. Well, that will wrap up this video. Be sure to let me know in the comments below how accurate you feel this list was. If you think I got something wrong, then be sure to let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, then be sure to drop a like and consider subscribing to the channel for more Destiny 2 content dropping weekly. Finally, be sure to follow me on my social media platforms, all linked below to keep up with when I go live, when I upload, and more. With that being said, I'm SniperKH, and I'm out. Good luck with gaming.